my name's Heather, and I hear you're coming to the Carnegie Science Center. I know it looks quiet on the outside, but that's more like it. To get here, first, you need to be on the bus. Whoa! This may be a good place to leave your coats and maybe your lunches, depending on the arrangements that your school made when they registered by phone. Your luxury transportation will whisk you to the group services entrance, which is below the main entrance of the building. When you arrive, you'll hear an orientation to make your day safer and more enjoyable. Then, it's time to explore! This place has ramps to get from one floor to another. There's an elevator, but they save that for senior citizens and physically challenged visitors. You don't need tickets if you're part of a group. Just say the name of your school or whatever group you're with, and you'll be let into the programs and theaters you have reservations for. Here on the main floor, there's the Omnimax Feature and the Discovery Shop, the Aquabatics Fountain, and the Discovery Shop, the entrance to the Blue Cross Health Science Theater, and, of course, the Discovery Shop. The Omnimax is our 4-story dome theater where you are in the picture.
Wow!
The Health Science Theater has live programs for school groups. You could even end up on the stage. The mezzanine has hands-on exhibits. This is a great place to split into smaller groups and explore stuff with your friends. The second floor has 3 other areas to explore: the miniature railroad and village, the Buell Planetarium, and another exhibit area. The railroad has lots of great little things going on. You've got to pay attention and look closely. Some of the stuff you see might remind you of stories your grandparents tell. My grandpap used to work in a steel mill just like this one. This area shows how much our lives are changed by technology in the 1920s. The planetarium is like another world. You might get to answer questions or even direct the show by voting with the interactive buttons on the seats. The exhibits on this floor are often changing, and what you saw a year or 2 ago will be replaced by something new. The exhibits are just more than buttons and lights, and by spending time and experimenting, you can have fun learning. Restrooms and water fountains can be found on every floor, right at the top of the ramps. Your lunch is either on the bus or the picnic area outside, or, space permitting, in the group services lobby where you came in. Your group might even have ordered boxed lunches from our Riverview Cafe. The 3rd floor is the place to really get into the science fun. There's ports of discovery where you and your class can get up close and personal with a scaly friend. Or spend some time in hyperspace. Or make a new river appear. Try out the things you can usually only read about. Our Sea Life Aquarium shows what's up under the water in our surf-pounded forereef, back reef, and lagoon. You might even have a hands-on class where you build and launch a rocket or digest food in a baggie.
Yeah.
The 4th floor has more hands-on exhibits for you to try. And then there's the works, where all kinds of technology are at work. kitchen theater is another place where you'll find you already knew science before you knew it. There's lots of science going on in a kitchen and in your stomach. So we're here at the top of the building, and there's nowhere to go but underwater. If your class goes through the U.S.S. Requin, you'll see a lot of science in a little space. You'll actually be below the river on your tour. Now you know how to get here, where to go, and what to see. When you visit the Carnegie Science Center, we hope you have a great time and you help others to do the same thing. By the time you leave, you'll be surprised how much you've learned. Hope to see you soon. Wait! If you'd like to know more about the Omnimax Theater, the U.S.S. Requin submarine, the Henry Buell Jr. Planetarium, or the Miniature Railroad and Village, then keep the tape rolling. We have a short feature on each.
Volcanoes, they were real big.
It was awesome. Like all the lava that was spewing up out of the ground and everything.
Yeah, makes your stomach spin. It's great.
No, this isn't a journey to the center of the Earth, but it's probably as close to one as you'll ever get.
The movie theater was so big, it made you feel like you were right there.
The movie theater she's talking about is the Rango's Omnimax Theater at Pittsburgh's own Carnegie Science Center. With its enormous curved screen and over 60 stereo speakers, Omnimax is the most advanced motion picture system in the world.
Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Rango's Omnimax Theater.
When the theater first opened, we monitored the audience quite carefully, and they were really amazed that something like this had come to Pittsburgh, and we're very happy to be a part of the community and to provide such an interesting experience.
Omnimax Systems Manager Dean Fick oversees the operation of the theater's giant projection system. Omnimax film is 10 times the size of a regular movie, and it travels through the projector at 300 feet per minute.
Stand by for projector start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
But before the film can begin, the Omnimax projector climbs an elevator to the middle of the theater.
We're here in the very center of the Omnimax Theater, where the projector arrives. It's called the Doghouse, and we're located in the very center of the Omnimax Theater. It's here that the 180-degree fisheye lens produces the wonderful Omnimax images, which engulf the audience in the actual image. Now we're behind the dome in the Omnimax Theater. This is a truly immense space, nearly 4 stories in height. Over here to my left, you can see the frame that supports the Omnimax projection screen. And attached to this frame are hundreds of panels, each of which is transparent to sound. To my immediate left is one of the many speakers that make up the large and incredible sound system for the Omnimax Theater. We can make some incredible noises in here, anything from a jet plane taking off to a thunderstorm, and you'll feel like you're right there.
I love the part when you're on the bridge and during the earthquake in San Francisco, you felt you were really a part of it.
serious damage on the Bay Bridge.
When all that smoke blew out, felt like you were really there.
The Rangos Omnimax Theater. See it now at the Carnegie Science Center.
It was neat.
Today marks an important milestone for the Carnegie Science Center. Today marks the official opening of its first exhibit, the U.S.S. Requin. The Carnegie Science Center, with its Omnimax Theater, planetarium, and exhibits, including this submarine, will have a significant impact on our region. It'll be a facility that enables peoples of all ages to understand the science that affects their everyday lives. This submarine will be one of the many ways that we can experience the unfamiliar by seeing and touching.
In 1990, a major event stirred the waters from the Gulf of Mexico to the source of the Ohio River here in Pittsburgh. A diesel-electric submarine from World War II embarked on its last journey, over 1,600 miles from Tampa, Florida, to its new moorings in western Pennsylvania. The Carnegie Science Center welcomes the U.S.S. Requin.
It's a pleasure for us to be here. My wife and I drove in here yesterday, the first time we've been in your city. Came right through that tunnel right there and looked in both directions, as we normally do when we see water, and saw this ship in a very prominent place, and a place that you should be proud of. The thing that I would like to address is that I think that you'll find that this ship will provide an inspiration for generations to come.
The U.S.S. Requin never had to use its guns and torpedoes in battle. World War II ended just months after it was launched. But this submarine is jam-packed with technology and was designed so that 81 men could live, navigate, and communicate from underwater anywhere on Earth. On June 3, 1945, the U.S.S. Requin left the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, where it was built, and began its first journey, a trip to Pearl Harbor. It's now been over 45 years since it left the shipyard. The Requin has gone through many changes and has traveled widely around the globe before arriving here in Pittsburgh. Its last journey began in May of 1990 from Tampa, Florida, where it was moored for 19 years. The Carnegie first moved the ship into dry dock for minor repairs and painting, preparing the Requin for its journey to Pittsburgh. Under tow, the Requin was carefully guided across the Gulf of Mexico and then up the Mississippi River. The U.S.S. Requin is longer than a football field. Its long gray hull and conning tower created a startling scene as it passed under the bridges of Pittsburgh on its way to the Science Center.
We really are in a continual struggle to capture the imagination of all people, and especially young people. And so as this boat, the U.S.S. Requin, comes to one place and stops its journey, in a sense, through space, it continues its journey through the imagination of the human mind.
Soon after its arrival that fall, the Requin was open to the public for sneak preview tours. Over 16,000 people got to see what life aboard a sub is all about. The tour begins as you climb down into the forward torpedo room. Then starts a long, narrow journey back through the working and living spaces of a submarine. The officers' quarters and pantry. The control room for steering, navigating, and submerging. The crew's quarters, mess, and galley. 2 engine rooms, aft and forward. The maneuvering room. And the aft torpedo room, which was converted into a stern room after the war.
You might look at this ship, and I'm sure others will, and they'll say, what does a World War II submarine have to do with a brand new science and technology center? Well, let me tell you, I'd say that from the standpoint of technology, this was quite a ship. Here's a ship that was designed to sink and come back up again on command. That's not bad. Demonstrates the basic principles of physics, the principle of buoyancy. In this case, controllable buoyancy. You look at the torpedo tubes on this ship, and what you see is a miracle of engineering safety with a series of mechanical levers and interlocks to make sure that you don't open the outer door and the inner door at the same time and bring in a lot more water than you'd care to see at any given day.
There's a lot of science to learn on a submarine. There's so much to see and talk about on the U.S.S. Requin that every year the submarine tour will teach something new. Did you know that a torpedo has 2 propellers? One spins clockwise and the other spins counterclockwise. And did you know that the telephones on a submarine don't need electric power to work? They're powered by a person's voice. You've probably heard of UHF and VHF from the tuner on your TV. But what do the letters stand for? The Requin used UHF and VHF, as well as HF, MF, LF, and VLF, a variety of communication frequencies. You'll hear about sonar, radar, radios, and gyros. Even electronic countermeasures, or ECM, used to jam the enemy's radar and radios. There are 2 large desalination units that take the salt out of salt water. Fresh water was needed for drinking and for the lead-acid batteries. Nearly 5 feet tall, each cell of the batteries held 31 gallons of electrolyte and weighed over 1,700 pounds. The Requin had 2 large rooms called batteries, each filled with 126 of these cells. They quietly powered the submarine's electric motors when traveling submerged. And what do you do with garbage when you're underwater? You just can't open the door and take it out. The Requin's GDU is quite a unique garbage disposal unit. Well, you can see what I mean by jam-packed with technology.
My dad took me aboard a submarine in California near the end of World War II. And we just wandered on board. He was a naval officer, and so I went aboard and looked around. I was 11 years old at the time. And I just looked around, saw the people, saw what they were doing, saw the ship, and I just said, I like this. And that inspiration from that one visit that lasted about 30 minutes stayed with me through a lifetime. So I think that you'll find that will happen here. You'll probably never know the instances when it occurs. But because it's here, you'll find kids will come on board here, they'll be inspired by what they see, and they'll say, I like this.
It's a rare occasion when a submarine makes it to an inland city, but the U.S.S. Requin did because the Carnegie Science Center wanted to create a truly rare opportunity for people to see and touch the unfamiliar ways that science and technology often develop. Guided tours of the U.S.S. Requin are conducted from March through December. For information, call the Carnegie Science Center at 237-3400.
It was a time of transition when horse-drawn wagons crossed paths with the Model T. Folks who washed clothes by hand at home went to work in factories where machinery provided the muscle. America in the 1920s was an exciting place. The country's agricultural roots still held firm, but the future was arriving every day. Nowhere was this transition more evident than in western Pennsylvania. Here, all the elements came together. Farms and factories stood side by side. The energy that fueled a nation pushed through the rural towns and villages. Cultures were blending too, and the people were experiencing a unique time in this country's history. It was a special time in America's past, and it comes to life in the great miniature railroad and village. The original display that welcomed generations at the Buell Science Center has been expanded and enhanced. 4 years of preparation and a year of careful construction made it possible. From this detailed blueprint, the building process began. The new display was begun off-site while the Science Center was still under construction. The layout was meticulously planned. Even the hills and valleys matched the actual geography of western Pennsylvania. Research was the first step in bringing this new design to reality. With an eye on authenticity, artists, machinists, model makers, and electricians carefully recreated the past. The new display covers over 2,300 square feet, nearly 1,000 more than the original. Transported in sections, it slowly began to take shape at the current site. As the pieces come together, a home becomes part of a picturesque town. A lumber mill is built, a quarry, coke ovens, brickworks. A city with people at work and play becomes reality. A farm village, a baseball field, and circus are busy with activity. A river system flows through, complete with busy boat traffic. Finally, The trains that meant so much to this age wind among it all and out into the countryside. Ironically, advanced computer technology helps to recreate the authentic feel of a bygone era. Lights, sound, and moving pieces interact. Everything from a rooster crowing at sunrise to the gentle din of crickets after sunset. The ingenuity and creativity of its designers and builders make the great miniature railroad and village a special experience for each visitor. An educational and entertaining nostalgic trip through time.
The new Henry Buell Jr. Planetarium and Observatory, located here in the Carnegie Science Center, is a major achievement in space science and education, and the most sophisticated interactive planetarium in the world. At the heart of the new facility is the Digistar Planetarium Projector, a video display system that not only creates an Earth-based view of the heavens, but also allows us to travel to any of the more than 9,000 stars in its database. In addition to Digistar, multiple slide and video projectors and a massive surround sound audio system add special effects depth and texture to our exciting space voyages. But our view of the heavens is not limited only to computerized images. A rooftop observatory contains a remotely controlled research-grade 16-inch reflecting telescope, which transmits a video display of its targets for projection in the planetarium. The most advanced feature of the Henry Buell Jr. Planetarium is its interactive capability. Through flight controllers located at every seat, audience members may select the destination of their choice. So join us now inside the Henry Buell Jr. Planetarium for an exciting new look into the fascinating world of space.